Prohibition Talk Radio on WGDR 91.1 and WGDH 91.7.
You're tuned into WGDR Plainfield, WGDH Hardwick. This is Gar College Community Radio, 91.1 FM and 91.7. We are in the weeds with Prohibition Talk Radio. Joseph Smith here, Brandon Barberio as well. We're going to get a bunch of things going, guys. We are in a brand new time slot today. We just bounced back another hour and a half to better appease all of our listenerships from the East Coast to the West Coast. So we're really excited for the show today. We have Hole in the Wall Cultivation, Mark Huard, Laura Huard, and we also have Sky Allen in the studio today. We're going to be playing some songs for you guys. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things cannabis. So welcome to our new time slot. Hopefully you guys like what you hear today. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, give us a call, 802-454-7762. We love to have you guys interact with us. Just give us a call. We will have news for you. We will have leaf law segments for you. We will also have health and wellness tips and strains of the week. So, guys, don't go anywhere. We are going to get right into the show today with the local and national Canna News. And now for your local and national Canna News for June 3rd, 2019. Illinois lawmakers approve adult use legalization. The Illinois House of Representatives has approved the Senate's legalization bill, sending the plan to the governor's desk and putting Illinois just one likely signature away from becoming the 11th state to legalize adult use cannabis. Governor J.B. Pritzker, who focused on cannabis legalization as a major part of his election campaign last year, has already promised to sign the legislation. The bill will take effect on January 1st, 2020, and will allow adult Illinois residents who are 21 or older to possess up to 30 grams of cannabis flower, 5 grams of cannabis concentrate, and 500 milligrams of THC in an infused product, such as an edible or tincture. Non-resident visitors to Illinois, however, will only be allowed to possess 15 grams. The bill establishes a tax and regulated plan for cannabis marketplace that includes licenses for cannabis cultivators and dispensaries. Home grow, however, is not allowed under the plan except for registered medical cannabis patients. The bill also creates a system for expungement of prior cannabis convictions. Prohibition hasn't built communities. In fact, it has destroyed them, said Representative Kelly Cassidy, one of the bill's co-sponsors. It's time to hit the reset button on the war on drugs. 140 people scheduled to testify on first day of FDA hearings on CBD. When the word dropped that the federal government was interested in knowing our conclusions on CBD, it seemed to have spurred a wave of action. 140 people are signed up to testify at a public hearing in Silver Spring, Maryland, where the agency representatives will consider testimony on the uses and utilization of the drug. Topics that may be covered include potency levels, potential drug interactions, and delivery method for CBD products. The agency selected speakers among respondents to its open call for comment. Attendees of the upcoming meetings will hear the opinions of individuals from the business community as well as medical professionals, academics, agriculturists, and consumer advocates. Perhaps, given the expansion of CBD industry as of late, it should come as no surprise that there are a lot of people who want to weigh in on the future of its products. Confusion has reigned ever since CBD was effectively legalized by the U.S. Farm Bill. Even so, many states continue to arrest people for CBD sales and possession. There are currently 17 states that have laws that explicitly allow some usages of CBD. All right, guys, welcome back. This is In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio in our new and improved time slot. We're excited to be here, guys. You might have to ride through a couple technical difficulties with us this morning just so we can get our show set up. But I'm really excited, man. I got a bunch of great friends in the studio today. We do have Hole in the Wall Cultivation, Mark and Laura. Hi, guys.
Hello,
how you doing? We also have Sky Allen, who's going to be performing for us, and we're going to be talking about lots of different things. Brandon Barberio is on the line with us. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing this morning?
We're doing well, man. It's quite the shift from one slot to the other. We're excited because now we get to better appease all of our listeners from the East to the West Coast, which is really exciting. So hopefully we have a bunch of our West Coast listeners tuning in right now. We're anxious, man. I'm anxious for this. Hopefully everything goes good today. So, Sky Allen, let's get you checked in here, man. Say hi to everybody. Tell everybody who you are.
Aloha. How's everybody out there? I am coming from Big Island, Hawaii most recently. I've been touring around New England recently as well. Last couple of months have been great to be back home on the East Coast. Stoked. I'm glad to be here in the weeds. Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm excited. So we have you on today. Unique thing, man, right? Because you've been everywhere. We talked about this earlier, right? So you've kind of got to see a lot of the different cultures of cannabis, really, right? Like you've been in different states, Hawaii most recently, right?
Yes,
What is the culture of cannabis like in your travels that you've seen?
It definitely differs from place to place. I've been a cannabis activist for a few years now. I've been traveling ever since I was 16, so I've been really given a really vast opportunity to see diversity in people as well as gatherings, as well as music and culture. Through cannabis, we circle and gather and share cannabis all around the world, and specifically in this country. It's done in so many different ways and so many beautiful, ceremonies all around. Here it's on the East Coast. It's being really intentionalized. People are putting a lot of love and energy and blood, sweat, and tears into growing potent and powerful and worthy medicine for the patients as well as people to use recreationally. And in Hawaii, it's done the same, but it's really utilized it's very strongly used as a medicinal and a ceremonial tool. It's used very recreationally, but it's very much intentionalized, and not as much work is put into growing as strong as more as using it in a different way. So it definitely differs from place to place. So I mean, it's more spiritual there, right? Yeah, definitely. Really in essence, right? A vortex of energy. It can be perceived that way. Yeah, if you're open to the synchronicities that allow you to believe in that spiritual path, you'll experience that. If you're open to adventure and honesty with yourself regarding getting out and pushing your fears and doing some cool things and getting out of your element, that's also there too. Right.
So, I mean, it's a beautiful plant, right? So, I mean, you've seen it from the East Coast to the West Coast. There's a big variance. I mean, we talk about all the time on the show is like how crazy the difference is. You know what I mean? To us here, like Mark and Laura, right? It's kind of a new thing. I mean, granted, we've been doing it for 20 years, our whole life. You know what I mean? But it being recently open to people, you know what I mean? Like for us in the West Coast, in the East Coast, it's brand new. The West Coast guys, we talk to Brandon every day on the show, and he kind of laughs at us when we get all excited about new things. And he's like, "Dude, we've been doing that out here for years." So it's definitely
us being from Mass with the legalization too. It's opened up a much bigger world for us, with the legalization in Mass. Yeah. It just you finally can feel like you can be yourself and not have to hide, behind closed doors all the time. It's who cares if I smell like cannabis when I go to the store, Right. So I really don't mind anymore, whereas I used to. Right. So
I mean, there's still about 30% of the general population that care, I guess, if you want to talk statistics about it. Right. I mean, and, that's another interesting question because we talk about it. It's like legalizations in certain areas, and now public consumption legalization is a hot topic in Mass. Yep. Canada is doing it. We see Colorado. They just kind of put the legislature through to allow public consumption and cafes of such, right? So all this stuff is really interesting. Now, Sky, you've been everywhere performing as a musician, correct? Like you've been really working on this craft of yours, which is unique to me, man. I got to give you a big shout out really quick. Sky, I met you doing the MTGC launch party that we did for
over at Jewel nightclub in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah, for the big event that we had, and everybody's like, everyone's like, "Have you heard this guy yet?" I'm like, "Yeah, I checked him out online. I liked it, and you kind of completely stole the show that night." So we're all like, "Man!" And then we just keep running into each other in the body buffer. So now within your travels in the United States, I mean, obviously you've been kind of around for a while. What's the biggest thing you've seen from 5 years ago to now?
As far as cannabis liberation, I think astronomically we're growing as a species. Consciously, we're evolving and we're moving towards being accessible and acceptable with our use of cannabis as well as other medicinal herbs. There's a lot of great herbs that we are not, like kratom is under, people are having an issue, using that, and cannabis, and we've been struggling to use some of these medicines that are really, truly good for us. And I think in the last 5 years, we've seen spouts of legalization all around the country, and acceptance, not only legalization, but an acceptance of cannabis. Like you said, you're not afraid to go to the grocery store smelling like cannabis, and I can pass it off and make a joke, oh, it's my cologne cannabis for men, it feels good to know that it's more acceptable. I can walk around as a father with my 5-year-old daughter with dreads and in a cannabis legal state and not feel too afraid, not feel like
you're an outcast.
I'm a target or something.
Right, yeah.
And it still happens. Right. People still look at us sometimes, depending on your location or where you're at. Some people, that stigma's still out there,
That's
so
right.
just trying to break it. And, I'm a big believer on education. I do a lot of educational events around the state of Massachusetts and just educating people on, the uses of cannabis and being responsible with it and safe with it, and just showing people, like you had said, with social consumption. I mean, we go to several places, the Summit Lounge in Worcester, Mass. It's a great private lounge where you can go and, consume cannabis in there. You bring your own cannabis, and it's one of the safest places that you can see. There's bars on that street. You see people stumbling out of those places, drunk, fighting all the time. I mean, we practically live at the Summit Lounge, and I've never seen even as little as an altercation there, Right. And it's just... Right. It's an amazing environment and community that is building right now within the cannabis environment and music especially. We just did the rap battle Friday night. I mean, the cannabis and music, it's all meant to be together.
I really don't care what genre of music. I mean, as a DJ and a music lover, an avid guy myself, I have to say I don't really care what genre you're from. You probably consume cannabis, right? Like at some part of your life it's become an inspiration or helped you in some way, right? I mean, I'm sure you've tried other things, but I mean, cannabis is something that's usually well accepted in the music industry, whether you're playing jazz music or classical music or island music or even rap music like we had the other night. I mean, so Friday night, I mean, that was a great example of how well cannabis can mesh communities together, because, I mean, even one of the artists had said at the end of the night how, we had probably 3 or 4 different types of, or groups of people that probably wouldn't get along if they saw each other on the sidewalk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was just amazing. Hugs and love and, nothing but that. It was with the amount of diversity in that building, and, just the whole event in general. If you put that in another establishment, possibly in a drinking environment, and people have had a few, things could have been different.
Totally not going to work.
So it was just an unbelievable show.
I mean, there's an acceptance around cannabis that, it doesn't matter what culture you're from, really, I believe. You know what I mean? It seems like, the biggest things I love about being in this industry right now is a general acceptance of everybody. Women, especially. You know what I mean? Women are generally accepted and even pushed. You know what I mean? Like, we support our women in this industry. We love to see it, right? Cultures. We have every culture from all across the world, and we all get along right now, right? I'll say right now, but
even age-wise, I mean, you look at the age, the diversity of age. You know, it's from the youngest to the oldest of people. You know, it's amazing.
Sure.
I was given the opportunity to play a yoga class yesterday, and it was a cannabis yoga class. So they had a CBD dab bar, they had cannabis topicals, and it was a really amazing environment. I got to provide music for that, and there was a vast age group. There's everyone from young, 18, 19, 20, all the way up to probably a 50-year-old couple, and it was just great to see the diversity in people that are, now that it's legal, are giving it a shot, finding out that it's a better medicine than their pharmaceuticals.
Well, it's a big thing too. I mean, Mark, you see it, and I'm sure, Sky, you've seen it just in crowds and the places you've been. The acceptance of it, you know what I mean? It's, our parents basically are the generation that were the prohibitionists, right? Yep. And now it's our parents that are going, hey guys, remember all that stuff you used to get in trouble for? Educate me, you know what I mean? Like, my back hurts, my neck hurts.
How weird is it that, my mom, who is 73 years old, is now calling me, asking me advice about cannabis. That just totally blows my mind in a certain sense. And the education on the East Coast is key right now. The more ways that we can educate people on the East Coast, that's what everybody really needs, just from activists to simple bud tenders that could really help people. It's really key because everything else is going to fall into place, right? Stores will open, dispensaries will have product, people will grow flower, people will extract oil. But if no one's really educated about how to use these things and microdose and what the difference between CBD and THC is and all that, it kind of falls to the wayside.
Definitely. But it's interesting now because when we talk about this show, right? Obviously we're in a new time slot, right?
Yep.
High five to the show, okay? There's a lot of stigma around this show, which is amazing because we're trying to provide a lot of these answers and help people with the the guidance that they're getting from the TV, the propaganda that they've grown up with, all this gray area nonsense that people just need to know about. But I mean, it is an industry that's changing every day. Like in the chef industry, there's a million different ways to make a pot roast. You know what I mean? So now it's now it's education and trusting the people that you get it from because Tyson Chicken has recalls.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. There's so much misinformation. And, in the state of Massachusetts, there's so much CBD products on the shelves. So, we have our CBD business. My wife, she has hole-in-the-wall skincare. And, she's gone through quite the process of getting licensed and everything for skincare products. But we've seen a lot of products pulled off the shelves, third-party tested, and come back with no CBD in it. Some of them are a lot less than what they test for. So we really pride ourselves, and my wife makes great, amazing handcrafted skincare products. Everything's touched with our hands. Everything is lab tested. I mean, it's...
Right there, that's the difference.
I mean, it's amazing the stuff that she makes, and it's, and that's the thing is everything is lab tested. We have lab results that you can go right to the lab's website. MCR Labs, actually, I got a couple of pins for you guys to give away. Plug MCR Labs for their lab testing. They're doing amazing things for the community. They fought hard for people like us, for entrepreneurs, to be able to bring our products into them to test. They're one of the only labs in the country that somebody can walk in off the street like me, being an entrepreneur without a $100,000 license, owning a dispensary, and walk in there and get my products tested to see what I'm doing, to make sure that my stuff is safe, and to find out what those levels are so we can educate people. And when it does come time where we get our stuff on store shelves and we can legally sell THC, we can legally sell CBD right now, but having that, that early testing, that foundation, for that, hopefully that will excel us ahead, in that next market. I do all the safety screenings on my cannabis just to make sure, I grow all soil organics. So it's making sure that my products aren't, those cannabis plants aren't pulling heavy metals. I don't use pesticides, so I know that's not an issue. But other things are, microbials, bugs. There's so many different things that come into play. So knowing where you're getting your stuff from is huge.
I mean, and we're seeing this everywhere. even as hard as you try to do the things the right way, you never know what gets pushed back with the products that you're using. Again, like I tell people, we have recalls on medicine and big companies for a reason. You know what I mean? Because something goes awry somewhere. Nobody's perfect, right? So testing metals, pesticides, stuff like that. You know, we're seeing a lot of this stuff out west where outdoor growers are getting leach chemicals from just the ground, right? Because it's just there's so much of it being used now, right? So no matter as much as that grower is trying to do things right, they're still going to fail a test somewhere. We should know this, right? Sky, I have you here, right? So you're a musician, you're a performer, you have an instrument in your hand. We have a few minutes. I'd love you to give us a song if you could.
So bridging the gap from cannabis into music, I believe that music is medicine, and I believe that ganja and as well as our CBD strains that are being widely grown are also very important. And I think bridging the gap between medicinal music and medicinal herbs is extremely important, because as we're growing this community, we can utilize these tools to help grow each other's consciousness and the lessons that we're all learning together.
The life you're living, stay thankful and grateful for the blessings and lessons the universe is giving. Giving so that your spirit believes. And don't forget that we manifest our own reality. Lord, we're the only thing we really need. I said, we're the only thing we really need. I said, love is the only thing we really need. I said, the mind in the shifts, a spirit ascends and lives. Feeling the day slipping away, we learn to play into reality in a brand new way. New way, so find the light inside. Expose your weakness to the divine. Walk it up and let it go to Mother Earth and Father Sky. I offer it up and let it go to Mother Earth and Father Sky. You know yeah, I say you know so you can fill your cup with that love. Overflowing with the knowing that I'm blessed, and especially when I'm input to the test. Oh yes, to the test. Now, especially when my heart and mind have been put to the test. Oh yes, gotta live up so you can love the life that you live in. Ooh, yeah. And stay thankful and grateful for the blessings and the lessons the universe is giving. So let your spirit be. Don't forget that we manifest our own reality. No, it's the only thing we really need. I said, Lord, it's the only thing we really need. Ooh, we will be mighty. Because this might be the beginning of an end of a cycle. We turn the page of a new day, so we can lift the rock winds and burn our sage. Speak our truth, and don't forget to breathe. Be you, and be the change you dream to be. Yeah, be the change you dream to be. Ooh, expand your horizons, clarify you. Expand your horizons and clarify your view. Yeah. And listen to the messages that you're coming on through. Listen to the messages that are coming on through me and you. I can feel that energy moving me. I can feel that energy, oh now, moving me forward to my past. And you hold no turning back, no forward on my past. You hold, there's no turning back, so leave it low.
Listening to In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio on WGDR 91.1 and WGDH 91.7. Barberio, your cannabis expert for In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio on WGDR. This week's strain of the week is the Acorn Snowbud. The Acorn Snowbud, also known as the Acorn or just the Snowbud, is an evenly balanced hybrid at a 50-50. This strain is created by crossing the Afghani with an unknown South African landrace strain. It's super powerful, coming in with a 25 to 26% average THC level and soaring effects. The Acorn Snowbud is a great choice for any hybrid lover who needs a little bit of an extra oomph behind their medicine. It does come in slowly and builds in the back of your mind, lifting you into a state of euphoria. You'll feel insanely happy with an influx of creativity, all the while feeling physically relaxed. This sense of relaxation will slowly work into your brain, leaving you with ease without weighing you down. Thanks to these hard-hitting effects, the Acorn Snowbud is said to be perfect for treating such conditions as chronic stress, headaches, migraines, spasticity, and chronic pain. The Acorn Snowbud is mint and green. It has orange hairs and is coated with crystals. Each of these, when broken apart, smells very skunky, and that type of aroma will be released. The flavor takes on a sweet cinnamon effect as you exhale, and the sour skunk when you cough. Once again, I'm Brandon Barberio, your cannabis expert for In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio on WGDR.
All right, guys, and we're back. Awesome song, man. Awesome song. So,
yeah, it was.
Is there any sort of, what's the message behind that song?
Oh man, there's so many messages. But this song is called "Look Inside." I wrote it while I was in Colorado. Actually, a couple of the verses came through in Hawaii, but mainly it's I believe in this current reality, in the current society, in the current state of things, it's really important that we look inside. We look internally to change anything externally. I think to be able to change the world for the better, to change our society, to change cannabis laws, to change anything that we care about, we have to start changing ourselves first. And for me, I'm still learning that lesson each and every day. I struggle to live love. I struggle to realize that I am love and that I'm not looking for it. That we are all these beings of light that we can share and kindle each other's fires to help inspire each other. And so looking inside is the lesson that I currently and then still and will always have to currently really breathe into and listen to. And I like to share that with others because I think it's important. We got to look ourselves in the mirror and maybe get that vision a little bit clearer.
Well, like we said earlier, I don't think there's anything more inspiring than music, man. Like, legitimately.
Universal language, yeah.
We all connect to it. Everybody connects to it in some form. So no matter what we put through, it's there, whether it's good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, right? All right, guys, we're gonna flip the show around a little bit right now. We have Timothy Fair on with us from the Vermont Cannabis Solutions. Timothy, are you there?
Hey, good morning, Joe. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. So, new time slot, Tim. I'm glad you can be with us. I know you have a busy day. All sorts of fun stuff happening this week in the news. One of the biggest things we saw was the opening of, I guess, being legal to move hemp around within your states, right? Can you explain to us a little bit about what's going on there?
You start out with the easy one, huh?
Yeah, right?
This was actually an opinion letter that was put out last week by the General Counsel, the head lawyer of the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, in which it was reiterated, which is also stated in the 2018 Farm Bill, that states do not have the right to interfere with the interstate transportation of hemp. And that is, of course, defined in the federal law as cannabis containing less than 0.3% THC. So at this point, now that is not the DEA, that is not the Supreme Court, that's not a judicial finding, but that is an administrative finding, and it certainly gives a lot of weight to the arguments that are currently being made in Idaho and Oklahoma, where we saw some hemp shipments get seized.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big thing. It's interesting, man. I mean, it's only within states, right? It's not between interstate right now?
Well, if you can, no, you can. You can ship between states. It's perfectly okay. It's perfectly legal under federal law. What we're seeing now, though, is some state jurisdictions are just really slow to get the memo. And unfortunately, it's those guys that get caught, those guys that are facing serious jail time right now. We can laugh about it a little bit. For those guys, it's really serious. But the tide is going well. It does look like recent judicial decisions are starting to go our way on that. And I think it's only a matter of time before these local law enforcement get it through their head that industrial hemp is now a legal agricultural commodity. It's not getting anybody stoned, and they really need to just let this let it go.
Now, is this something that's accessible for everyday farmers to be able to grow, 50 hemp plants in their back field, or is this something that's more accessible for larger entities, companies that are willing to produce hemp at larger volumes?
It really varies state by state. Because the states are so specific on their particular hemp laws, it really, you have to look at what state we're talking about. Vermont, for example, is incredibly accessible to the small farmer. What we're seeing is a huge market for craft CBD flower, hand-trimmed, looks indistinguishable. Farmers are getting between $400 and $600 a pound for that. Wow. And now once states like Nebraska and Kansas finally get off their asses and actually get into this industry, they're going to be growing, 10,000 acres of biomass. We're not going to be able to compete with that, but we will have that craft kind of niche here in Vermont, and I think you have to ask that question individually about each state.
So,
all right, Tim, I got a question for you. Sure. This actually happened a couple days ago, and I really want to get your input on it. The USDA legalizes THC? ?
That is a great question. That was, I thought Joe was going to start out with. So the USDA doesn't have the ability to legalize anything, unfortunately. They're just an administrative agency. But what they did do also in that opinion letter that I was speaking about earlier is make it very clear that under the USDA's legal opinion, which, while it's not binding, does hold a lot of weight, industrial hemp and everything extracted from industrial hemp is now legal, which would mean that even though it's under a 0.3% THC, that is still a amount of THC. So theoretically, according to the lawyer at the USDA and according to pretty much any reasonable reading of the law, if you extract that 0.3% THC from that industrial hemp, that THC now becomes legal. It would require a lot of processing and a lot of extraction at those levels, but theoretically, you could extract enough THC where you would actually have a viable amount of product, and it would be 100% legal. And very interestingly enough, now it almost seems like that's going to be a defense. If you get caught with THC concentrate, the answer simply is it was extracted from hemp. And it would be on the government's burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you're in violation of the law. They would need to prove that that concentrate actually was extracted from cannabis containing more than 0.3% THC. And since it's impossible to determine after extraction, it's going to be really interesting to see where that goes.
Right? I saw that headline and I was like, oh, man.
full spectrum is better.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Isolate. The more cannabinoids, the better.
I mean,
absolutely right.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, the FDA looks like they're passing another CBD drug, basically. That's amazing. Without, deschedulized cannabis.
Well, be careful with that. They're actually talking about a synthetic CBD, which we all know how well their synthetic THC Marinol works. But it is progress. It is an acknowledgement that this is, a substance that has value, that has merit, that has medicinal benefit. And every step that we see, even with the approval of a synthetic one, that obviously puts a lot of weight to the fact that actual CBD is something that we need to get right out of the Controlled Substances Act, right out of law enforcement's mind, and make it accessible to everybody that can benefit from it.
It's incredible where we're at right now, because now, again, another thing I want to bring up is California. Looks like they're going to be open up their banking systems to the cannabis industry through state-funded banks.
It's been something they've been talking about for quite a while. I think there's still some questions about the feasibility of it. If any state could do it, it would be California. They have enough of a population base for, example, Vermont could not pull that one off. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think it may become a moot point because in the recent spending bill, which was just introduced, I believe, Thursday or Friday of last week, there is a provision which would prevent the Department of Treasury from taking any adverse action against banks that work in the legal industry. This looks like it could very well pass. It would have to be renewed every year, much like the provision which prevents the Department of Justice from going after medical programs in states. But this would be huge if this actually goes through. So we're keeping an eye on that this week. And assuming that funding measure passes, then we are, that's going to be real huge for the banking industry.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, we've seen two Canadian banks kind of like just basically tell their businesses that we no longer want to work with you.
Yeah,
30 days.
We've seen it. We've seen a few banks shut down CBD companies that have worked with people for a little while, and I don't want to say any names, but they've shut them down. They've told them we can no longer work with your CBD company. My wife. If you want to talk about your experience with your bank.
Yeah, they recently shut me down, too.
They shut you down?
Yeah, so we opened the account, and then, they did some research and found out she was affiliated with a CBD, and they said, you're affiliated with marijuana. We don't like using the word marijuana. We use cannabis ourselves. So it's just, again, it's that education behind everything, and as well as, they want to see the revenue from that. So keeping these banks closed and not having these banking systems open, they're losing a lot of revenue that they could be using to fix schools, to fix roads, to do good things for communities. And, keeping it, the alternative market and even, the dispensaries and stuff, it's a big cash game out there, and they really need to step up to really start seeing the true revenue that can be made and putting back into these communities.
It's cash. It's
absolutely right.
Interest off this cash that they're providing people, but it's also, not only that, but like we do have a certain crime rate, around the issue of you have to go make a deposit this week. You have $50,000 in your car, right? Some people know this. Out west, Brandon will tell you there's issues out there. You know what I mean?
Can we put a call out for someone on the West Coast? Please don't geotag it. We don't need a location, but someone literally just show us your safe house in the West Coast, because there's thousands of them, and all they are is just huge 8x10 safes stacked with cash. Because they can't move it anywhere.
Yep.
I mean, especially when it becomes time, when it's tax season, these guys are moving truckloads of cash to,
oh, my God.
Yeah, the IRS, right?
Yeah, it's scary.
And the IRS goes, we have no way to collect and count all this.
Joe, unfortunately, I do have a client who just came in. Got to get used to this new time slot, but I am going to have to cut it short here today.
All right,
I'll
Tim.
let you get back to your other guests who are fantastic. Love the music, by the way. Just really wanted to give a shout out there. That was incredible.
Awesome.
So, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon, Joe.
We will. Big thank you to Timothy Fair of Vermont Cannabis Solutions, who's on with us every week for his Leaf Law segment. We cannot thank him enough for the insight he provides for our show. And again, we are excited to be in a new time slot, so we're going to iron out a few details and keep the things rolling. But now that we flipped the time slot a little bit around, we're going to go right into Jessalyn Dolan, our RN, with her health and wellness tip, guys. So do not go anywhere, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jessie Lynn Dolan, cannabis nurse researcher, educator, and consultant, an organic cannabis and hemp farmer. I founded the Vermont Cannabis Nurses Association and am bringing you a weekly dose of whole plant to whole person medicine and healing tips. We hear so much about CBD and THC. Let's talk about and celebrate CBN. Cannabinol, or CBN, has gained popularity through anecdotal patient report and has been proven through the little research we have to date to be the most sedative cannabinoid. This sleep-promoting cannabinoid is known to deliver its bedtime sweet dream slap in surprisingly low doses. According to our friends at Steep Hill Labs in California, 5 milligrams of CBN is as effective as 10 milligram dose of Valium, a commonly prescribed pharmaceutical in the benzodiazepine category known as an anxiolytic or sedative. Steep Hill writes that CBN is synergistic with both CBD and THC for inducement of sleeping. When mixed in the correct ratios, CBN becomes an effective sleep aid of 5 to 6 hour duration. CBN has also been found to fight free radicals in the bloodstream, as well as fight pain in a similar manner to THC. Like CBD, cannabinol acts as an alternative to THC, as CBN has mild to no psychoactive effects, as some like to call it. CBN and THC combined have been shown to provide significant relief for intraocular eye pressure with glaucoma patients. Leafly tells us that CBN's researched list of benefits include pain relief, anti-insomnia, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and anticonvulsive. Also tells us that CBN acts as an appetite stimulant as well as promoting the growth of bone cells. Cannabis Aficionado reports that a 2015 study entitled Turning Over a New Leaf, Cannabinoid and Endocannabinoid Modulation of Immune Function, published in the Journal of Neuroimmune Pharmacology, stated that CBN can alter the functional activities of the immune system. A 2008 Italian study entitled Antibacterial Cannabinoids from Cannabis Sativa, a structure-activity study, and published in the Journal of Natural Products, found CBN to demonstrate considerable antibacterial efficacy and showed potent activity against a variety of MRSA, MRSA, or methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus strains, which is of current clinical relevance. According to Medical Jane, topical uses also have shown promise in treating burns and psoriasis, and some early studies have suggested CBN could stimulate bone growth, possibly helping in treating osteoporosis and help broken bones to heal quicker. CBN rarely exceeds 1% in typical fresh, dried flower, so how do we find and use CBN besides purchasing it at a dispensary? THC oxidizes, or simply is exposed to oxygen and or heat over time and converts to CBN. If cannabis is stored in an airtight container of some sort, it's unlikely that a lot of THC would convert to CBN. Aged or poorly stored cannabis is likely to have higher levels of CBN than fresh flower in an airtight container. So that's an easy way that requires patience and time. One thing the cannabis plant has taught me and continues to teach me every day is patience. Some people who use vaporizers save their leftover bud, and this vaporized cannabis is then processed into CBN for medicine. That is practicality and economic brilliance at its best. So if you need some more sleep, like I know that Joe Smith from In the Weeds, our host of today's show, could use, tap into some CBN. Whether you purchase it, recycle it, or practice your patience, I wish you sweet green cannabis dreams. Tune in next week to In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio to hear your weekly dose of whole plant to whole person medicine and healing tips from Jesse Lynn and members of the Vermont Cannabis Nurses Association.
All right, guys, we are back. Huge thank you to Jessalyn Dolan of the Vermont Cannabis Nurses Association. And, CBN is something I should try, look into, right? It was kind of funny. We were just talking to Mark off air as that's going about ADHD, right?
Yep.
And how significant cannabis can play with ADHD. You know, like people don't need Ritalin. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
No.
And
I'm a carpenter by trade. I own my own business. I've owned my own business for several years. Very successful. I love what I do. I love building stuff with my hands. And cannabis has been huge for me. I mean, I have a hard time focusing on one job. You know, I'll be doing something in the middle of something, and all of a sudden I'm over here doing something totally different that's got nothing to do with what I should be doing. So just, you know, there's certain strains that I cultivate for several years that just help me maintain that focus, you know, and it's finding that level where you can still be a functional person in society, you know, where you're not sitting on your couch at home, you know, being your, you know, that typical stoner, as people, you know, think most people are. You know, I'm a very functional person. I'm high energy, constantly moving around. I love to do things. So it's finding those strains that work for you. You know, once you figure that out and you can figure out yourself, you know, it's.
Well, we get a lot of interesting comments about our strain of the week, right? Because for us, it's, you know, it's not necessarily a funny hoo-hoo ha-ha sour diesel strawberry guava-esque, you know, all these cool flavors. It's, you know, these actually have medicinal qualities, right?
Yep.
So, you know, and you teach us in your educational classes, like, know your strains, the biggest thing that we always can say. Because, like you said, ADHD, headaches, nausea, women, periods, PMS, cramps. For me, dude, like, if I don't smoke cannabis, I'm literally, like you said, I'm just walking in circles looking at, like, shiny objects going, which direction do I go? Yep. And the minute I smoke something, for me at least, it shoots me in that direction. I get focused, I get zoned in, and I go. You know what I mean? And obviously, the biggest thing that we express to people, maybe you can help explain this real quick before we get Sky back on the mic, because, man, I got to have you play another song, is the sativa, the indica, the hybrids. You know what I mean? Like, when we medicate, we are looking for certain things for these reasons, right? To help us sleep, to help us focus in the day, and to help us get up. Explain it a little bit, like how you would explain it to somebody if they are asking you, like, what am I looking for? You know what I mean?
So what people need to understand as well with it is every single person is different. Every single person is going to receive cannabis and cannabinoids differently. So knowing what strains work for you, you know, and the sativas and the indicas and the hybrids, most percentage of cannabis out there now is all hybrid. You know, there's not everything. A lot of stuff has been, you know, crisscrossed and, you know, really thinned out over the years. So most things are, you know, typically hybrids of some sort or another. But, you know, finding out if it leans a little more towards a sativa, which, you know, a lot comes with the terpene profiles as well. You know, I have a strain, it's called Super Silver Lemon Haze, and just the smell of that lemon, when you open that jar and you smell that citrus, it just has an uplifting feeling without even smoking it. Exactly. And it's just having that profile on that strain of cannabis, you know, and knowing that that is going to lift you up. Whereas, you know, I have another strain that I grow, the grape, you know, it's more towards the indica side. It has that kind of relaxing terpene profile where, you know, it's just going to relax you and take you into that state. You know, when that tests in at like 18% THC, it's a little bit on the lower side. I have another strain, it's called Western Mass Diesel, which tests in at 28%. That one just grabs you by your face and pulls you into the couch. So knowing which strain, you know, is good for you, that works for you. Yeah. You know, I have a strain Diesel, which I was just speaking with you off the air, that really works for me. You know, I've been a carpenter. That Diesel helps me focus, whereas my wife, she can't smoke the Diesel because it puts her in a state of mind where, you know, she wants to go to sleep or sit down, relax. And so everybody's different. So, you know, realizing that the same cannabis for me is going to affect you a little differently, you know, so, you know, figuring that out as well is big.
I think the biggest part of it, and he mentioned it earlier, is education surrounding cannabis is extremely important. You know, half of the population of people that smoke cannabis or are thinking about smoking cannabis don't know the terms, don't know what indica and sativa is. They walk into a dispensary blind, and it's nice to have somebody there that can help them.
I think sadly, ultimately, too, now you said the one word that we don't, well, we like, but we don't like in this room is the dispensaries, right? We love the dispensary, what they do, but on the flip note is, you know, what you said, there's a lot of education that's, I think, severely lacking within the dispensaries and the gray market. I'm not going to lie. Our green market, we'll call it, right? I can't talk about how many events I've gone to where we have these professional companies we are medical strain Bobby Joe, you know what I mean? That when the consumer comes up, which is, to me, the adult, right? The older lady that says, hey, my son told me to come here and find a sativa for for my whatever my issue was, right? And the guy goes, well, we have this. And she's like, well, is this a sativa or an indica? And he's like, well, I don't know. You know
I don't know.
Yeah. Did you grow it? Did you do you know anything about these strains? But then here you are claiming to be a medical person, right?
And some of them don't even know where it came from.
No.
You know, we've spoken to young people at the front counters, you know, when we first did our dispensary tour and we got our cards, and they didn't. Some of the kids didn't even know where this stuff came from. Like, where was it grown? Right. It's not grown here. Who's growing the stuff? You know, so it's definitely a big thing to know where it comes from.
Well, there's a lot of education too, our endocannabinoid systems, right? Like we talk about a lot the medical. It's new to the medical industry, so a lot of people are not supporting it. A lot of people aren't teaching it, and there's no place to really find out good quality information about it. So, like, we talk to Dr. Uma a lot, and we see these issues all around the industry. But now, like you said earlier, the testing issues, people are pulling stuff just off Amazon, the top 10 sellers, and in the top 10, none of them have any CBD in them, right? Yep. And these are people that are patients. So, like, here's a stigma that's going to ruin the industry as well, because if I were a patient trying to get off opioids, I go to Amazon because, hey, it's Amazon, right? I order their best-selling CBD bottle because, hey, it's got to be good, right? It's their best-selling bottle. I get it. It doesn't work for me. So what do? Now you're like, oh, well, forget it. It didn't work for me. Right?
Yep.
So most people will leave the industry, right, where it was just either they're misinformed, things were mislabeled, which is a huge issue that we have, and then a crap product, whether it's no CBD, grape juice, or full of metals, pesticides. It's that byproduct that they couldn't put in anything else because it wouldn't pass a test, so they hide it over there. They throw it into a cart. They throw in some glycol, right, and they put a little pretty package on it, and here you go. You know what I mean? No tests, right? Even though some of the testing you got to be concerned with that we've seen.
Yeah.
But MCR Labs, huge shout out to those guys. They seem to be doing one of the best things. And, like, the biggest problem right now is testing isn't cheap, right?
Yep.
So if you want to be legit and you want to have that, hey, I tested this product, and your consumers to know what they have, it's not cheap.
Right.
So. Yep.
And I do a lot of testing on my cannabis. I do a lot of experimenting with different lights, different nutrients, with soil organics, testing my soils. And, again, with everything, we get the CBD we test the product, and then we test our products that we make with it. So we're double testing. We're being sure that everything is super open, we're transparent as possible. But I've also done experimenting because, it's hard to know things, and if there is a consistent testing being done. So I've given several products as the same products to the lab, and I have come back with great results, consistent results across the board with the same product, making sure that the testing that I'm getting and receiving is consistent and it's right.
And you guys above and beyond put it right to your websites. You put it right on your pages. Like, you are not hiding it, right? You are as transparent as it can be, as some businesses aren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I share it all over my social media to let people know.
Yeah, you have to now, right?
Yeah, we have scan codes. You can take your phone and scan the code, and it goes right to the MCR lab results for all of our products as well, which is amazing.
So huge props to you guys.
If I'm a small craft grower, let's say, and I have in between like 4 to 6 ounces, and I were to go to this testing facility to get said flower tested, how much would that cost me?
So for MCR Labs, they have, for cannabinoid profiles for MCR Labs, which actually have a little potency testing card right here. So you actually only need 0.3 grams of the flower to get tested for your cannabinoids. And then they also do terpene testing, which is another 25. So for cannabinoids and terpenes, you're looking at 75. To do your safety screenings, for the full-on safety screenings, which they're testing for heavy metals, microbial contaminants, mycotoxins, pesticides, and residual solvents, you're looking, I believe it's right around $450 for the full spectrum of testing. And that would include the cannabinoids and terps as well.
Yeah,
that's about what it is on the West Coast, too, so...
It's not cheap. I mean, it's the pesticides that are really expensive, from what I understand, is to get that kind of test done, just because of the obviously the cost of it, and then it's important to us. You know what I mean? Like you said, there's a lot of hidden factors of things going on that might be out of your control. That you're still purchasing products from someone else that you're relying on to be clean, right? And as we've seen, health food's not always healthy, and things do go bad. You know what I mean? But the only way that we're going to catch this is by consistently testing products, right? But then again, you know, even with the testing, like hopefully some point they can make it more affordable for the general consumer to be able to come in and test small batches of products, right? That way you don't have to make 10,000 bottles of lotion to make it cost effective. That you don't have to add a huge expense onto, you know, the person that's buying your products, right? Because obviously the expense is going to get passed on. So, you know, let's make it cheap, let's make it affordable, and let's keep the industry on point, because, you know, that probably is the biggest deterrent. You know, there's people out there that want to get their product tested, but when it comes to $600 to test a small batch of something you made, you know, 15, 24 bottles of, you know what I mean? It becomes a huge cost issue. Guys, I'm going to do this again. I'm ready for some more music, man. This show's been great. So we're going to get Sky back on. Sky's going to do another quick live piece, and we're going to end the show on a recorded piece. If you guys want to check him out, Sky Allen Music. He's all over Bandcamp. Yeah, it's SKYALAN on Bandcamp.com. Check out my new tracks I just released with Hannah's Field out of Connecticut. They're an amazing band out there as well. I'm stoked to be here. Thank you so much. Well, you guys are tuned in to WGDR Playfield, WGDH Hardwick. This is Gar College Community Radio, 91.1 FM and 91.7 in the weeds with Sky Allen Music Live. Shout out to Vermont. To Mama Rain, wherever she may be rambling away. This is how I got my name. I was given a tried name by drinking when you see that goes by Mama Rain. Listen to your smile from all the miles that's been rambling away, rambling away. And those eyes have seen everything. On a backpack full of scattered lessons and a pocket full of tattered dreams. On a highway for so long, delirious and song. Pull me up my trail, pull me up my tracks. Mama's got a story to tell. She said, shine your light, yeah. Cry your rain, keep your head in the clouds. She said, shine your light, yeah. Cry your rain, keep your head in the clouds. Oh, she said, keep your head in the clouds. She said, keep your head in the clouds. She said, keep your head in the clouds. Yeah, she said. By her side, ooh, she said, ooh, baby, how you shine. I pulled me in closely, dumping on the smoke and said, this is the story we chose. She stared deep into my eyes, exposing all the light I had trapped inside. She passed a piece of pipe. Welcome to the tribe. Pulled out a medicine bag, searching for the man she had, searching for a perfect match to bring her spirit to life. And when I passed the song to you, there's no turning back. We're all giving a name how to make this change. Bring your vision to the promised land. And she said, shine your sunlight, yeah. Cry your rain, keep your head in the clouds. Oh, and she said, shine your sunlight, yeah. And cry your rain, keep your head in the clouds. She said, keep your head in the clouds. She reached and focused and she pulled out my name. You're the sky, she said to me. Darkness, but don't you know all of us follow this? You and me are the
generation, shifting reality. We are regeneration, tribal nation. I'm moving through these mansions, filled intention. Giving to the love and life that we got inside. Giving to the love and life that we got inside. Oh, giving to that love and life that we got inside. Oh, giving to the love and life that we got inside. Moving on your heart. Find your true self and rise. Open up that heart. Find your true self and rise. Ooh, shine yourself light, yeah. By your rain, you're in the clouds. She's there. Sunlight, yeah, by your back, you keep your head in the clouds. She said, oh, keep your head in the clouds. She said, I'll keep your head in the clouds. She said, I'll keep your head in the clouds. The gathering in my mind, I was given my tribe name by a drunken rainbow gypsy that goes by Mama Rain.
Oh, that was hot, man.
Nice, man.
Thank you.
Wow.
So, see, you can do fun stuff on live radio, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, man, again, awesome song, man. The inspiration for this music is unreal. Like,
I appreciate it. You know, I believe in a movement for change. I believe in a movement for consciousness upliftment in this society, in this reality that we're living in. And I think music is a universal language for us to be able to do that. There's a strong movement of medicinal-minded, spirit-guided people that are making this kind of music all around the country, all around the world. They've been gathering for so many years, boosting this movement and bringing out this beautiful flower that's blossoming in these great hubs of community that are forming all around the country. I've seen them in Hawaii and in New Mexico and in Colorado and in California, you know, and in Minnesota and out here we have a beautiful New England community and family that's very tight-knit, especially within the music festival scene, especially within the cannabis community. There's a lot of beautiful, amazing, talented, creative people that are out to change the world for the better. And I think one of the things that I'm here to do, that Spirit's guiding me to do, is to be here to do that work, to build that bridge for the communities that are being formed out there, the ideas of communal living, sustainability, you know, permaculture, getting closer to our land, getting closer to our mother, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help heal our planet as well as heal ourselves, especially now. Our elders have been calling for it, and now society's calling for it. Now our general public is calling for it. And so as we move forward into this movement together, I think music is one of the things that we can bring each other together to celebrate as well as to grow within. I think we can pray together. I think we can grow together. I think we can create together in community, as far as community living, you know, communal grows and collective grows for cannabis, you know, and really promoting a togetherness and a tribe mentality that we are lacking, that we've been lacking for several hundred years now. And as we get back to each other and we get back to ourselves, we realize that we can move forward in a positive direction.
It's amazing where we're just like, you know, it seems like the last, you know, in my lifetime experience, it seems like the last 20 years we've been racing to technology, artificial intelligence, to the next step, to the moon, you know what I mean, to Mars, right? And now in the last, you know, 4 or 5 years of what I would have to say would be cannabis freedoms, right? We're all like, you know, 10 years ago, herbal medicine was still kind of like looked bad on, right? It was kind of like, yeah, you know, that's witchcraft, you know what I mean? That's a bunch of baloney kind of stuff, right? Nowadays, it's like, man, we are all realize that we need to reach back to earth, right? Like the cannabis thing, I mean, even cleaning soil, the power it holds, you know what I mean?
And technology has separated us as a whole as humans.
Right.
It's nobody wants to talk to each other anymore in person.
It's text message, right?
Nobody wants to drive anymore. I mean, I used to drive to Boston just as 2000. I was driving to Boston. I drive in 6:30 in the morning. I leave at 2:30 to beat traffic. There's no more beating traffic. It is constant.
Right.
And you look at every car, it's one person, nobody carpools. Nobody likes each other anymore.
No.
But you look at this cannabis community and music and the love that is shared within this community itself. It's just, there's no other like it in this world. I've seen it. I've seen, different. You've seen it. You've traveled a lot more than me. I'm pretty, stuck. I've been in the Northeast. I've never traveled outside the country.
Right.
So I haven't seen the world. I've seen the world through social media. I've seen the world.
Now, is that our problem, though? I mean, you just nailed it on the head. It's like nobody likes each other anymore. None of us like each other anymore. We're all on social media bashing each other for a political idea or a stupid belief that,
Yep.
I love you, brother. Believe what you want to believe, right?
Yep.
Like, we can all still be friends at the end of the day and support each other's beliefs instead of bashing them. You know what I mean? Like, that's the one thing I think we're missing right now, and you nailed on the head, man, is love, right?
Yep.
We don't love ourselves right now, I don't think, as people, and I don't think we love our neighbor enough, or again, Mother Earth, right?
Yep.
So here's all the things that we got. We'll rewind. Now, how do we fix that? Is it social media? You know what I mean? Is it, it's like our events. It's like as musicians, artists, event. You guys do a bunch of great events.
It's a wormhole. It's a vortex to do the social media with the events.
Right. But now it's like now we live in a world where it's like we get 1,000 people that like our events and post and share with us, and then we go to this event and 3 people show up because either nobody has time or we're anxious, right? So we live in a time right now where I think people are like so stressed out with life, man.
Yeah.
No one wants to go out and go fishing. No one wants to go pick up the guitar and go to the bonfire, invite 40 friends over and have a good time,
well,
right?
I think there's really a couple of important things about cannabis that are being accomplished right now. One of them is growth in our society. I think we're accomplishing jobs. We're accomplishing education for people, for our children, to grow up in a cannabis industry that is responsible and educated and well built, because we've put in the hard work to get to build a platform worth standing on, and so that they can eventually, be part of an industry that is respectable. So I think providing a platform for an economy currently that is withering a little bit, we can promote some more growth with the cannabis industry. And I think another side of it is that cannabis itself is a movement maker. It is a sacred medicine. It is a ancient medicine that we've been using for thousands of years to commune with each other and to commune with our planet.
Right.
And so the more that we consume cannabis, or at least respectfully acknowledge cannabis's presence in our reality, we can come that much closer to each other, that much closer to our planet, that much closer to a better future.
Right. I mean, technically, it was legitimately used as peace offerings, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, before
By
Christ.
Indians,
I mean,
but
there's evidence before Christ was even, acknowledged. You know what I mean?
Right.
That it was used, and there's a lot of things now that are changing history, that people thought things for so long, and it's time to change the last 70, 80 years of what we've been drilled to believe, and we have a 17 and a soon to be 20-year-old boy, and they're growing up to be men, we're trying to educate them as well, so they have that education, even if you're not going to be a youth. The vape cart stuff is it's a horrible thing as well now. There's so much garbage in the vape carts, and you see a lot of younger kids and generations are doing that. The millennials, I believe they call them, are big into that stuff, and it's dangerous. They're putting, there's so many heavy metals, and it's just, there was recently, I saw an article that I believe High Times might have put out there that was taught, this girl was selling honey in carts and making a killing, selling honey, just honey, and it's so
tastes
just
great, right?
Knowing what you're using and, being responsible. And, I do cultivation classes all over Massachusetts to teach people that you can grow good cannabis, healthy cannabis yourself, and it is, I'm not going to say it's easy. It might be easy for me. I've been doing it for 20 years, but it's something that you can do yourself and do it healthy and do it right.
It's not. Let's not say it's easy, right? I mean,
nothing worth it is easy.
Right.
Nothing true. I mean,
that is very true.
It's easy if you love it, like anything else in life, right? Like it's a plant, so it's a living thing. So if you treat it like a dog, it might not treat you back the same. You know what I mean? Some people don't understand, like, these things are living beings. the plant sings, man. Like there's a connection that you have to the plant. You know what I mean? The more time you spend with your plant, the more better, bigger, and nicer your plant becomes.
She thinks I'm crazy because I talk to my plants.
Oh, man, I play music, man.
Love them.
Yeah, he spends a lot of time with them.
Meditate with your plants, sing to your plants.
Breathe on them.
Music, yes. They respond, man.
They grow nutrients in abundance.
Yeah.
And you can look up, online, there's simple stuff, but electrical conductivity, you look at plants, they hook it up, and they play music, and you can see those electrical currents changing. It's amazing.
We did the medical conference here with Rosemary Gladstar a little less than a year ago now, and they did that. They brought in a speaker and hooked it up to the plant, and the plant was literally singing. You're like, man, you would have wanted to record it, man.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So, there's a lot to it. And then, just the power it holds. A lot of people, say it's non-earthly. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was brought to us, and, there's a lot of different beliefs of certain situations of it. But, like you said, man, it goes back beyond our furthest comprehension of time, which would be like the Egyptian scrolls, right? Like it's on the scrolls, man. Like it's there, and it's a leaf, and you can see it, and it's being utilized as an intelligent savior of such for these people.
For the last couple hundred years, we've been making this big deal about it.
That being said, though, look at this. This is what prohibition, propaganda, and money and power can buy you within our country right now, right? Yep. If you think about it, and we talk about it a lot, the Hirsch paper manufacturing companies, right? We had the hemp thrashing machine, right? So literally it was our powers that be of strong corporations that put the kibosh to it, right? Me and Brandon talk about this all the time. It's like, in the 30s, everybody forgets, not that heroin's bad for you, but a lot of our medicines were based around heroin, cannabis, right? Alcohol.
Yep. At balanced levels.
Exactly.
Balanced levels, yes. So, not to say that I want everybody going out and trying heroin for their headache today, but, how do we separate down this road, right? And then it's politics, it's power, it's
money and politics.
Money.
Power,
it's the Reagan administration. It's Ollie North. You know what I mean? It was our war on drugs, and this is your brain on drugs.
And now they're trying to capitalize on it even more.
Well, unfortunately, that's the sad thing about our government, right? Yeah. Like, unfortunately, it's going to stay illegal. You can't talk about it. You can't do anything with it unless we can make a few bucks off it and pat our
Big Pharma has patented several hundred strains, and that you eventually can get sued for growing. It's amazing. It's amazing to see the growth in the corporations as well, buying up thousands of acres of land. And,
Well, you know what though? I don't disagree with that. You know what I mean? Like, if especially being in Vermont, where we're an agricultural state or community, right? New England's an agricultural community, right? I'd rather see these fields being used and these farmers getting paid, right? Do I want to see corporations come in? No, but do I know that there's a Walmart and a Target and a McDonald's and a Dunkin' Donuts on almost every area geographically, right? So. Do I think there's a fight there to keep them out? No, I say let them come in. You know what I mean? I say, just like beer. We always talk about the beer thing, which I know a lot of people don't like, but like craft beer is a perfect example. There's a Budweiser. There's a Natty Ice. Doesn't mean I'm going to go drink the stuff. You know what I mean? Like, no,
but it's there.
But it's there, right? There's an offering for convenience and a low-end product that people will consume, right? But then again, we have Mark like Hole in the Wall, who sells, makes, provides exceptional CBD products. You work with flower, you work with patients, and it's all high quality, and you guys take a huge pride in what you're producing, right? But then again, there's that guy that's, trying to bang out as fast as he can to grow the buds as big as he can, that's using Miracle Grow and anything he can to make that thing flourish, right? Yep. But again, that's every industry, right? So we highlight it in the cannabis industry because it's our hot button topic, right? But then again, I don't want to forget about the other industries because we look at the cards, we talk about the cards, we talk about the heavy metals, the pesticides, all the stuff that we find in it. But like, guess what, dude? Go grab your box of Kellogg's that you just fed your kids this morning. I bet you if you were to test those out, you would find almost the same kind of levels of stuff that we need to be concerned about. Unfortunately, it's going to be put on our industry because it's a hot button industry, and again, they're still trying to fight it and say it's a bad thing. But again, proper education, like Mark was saying, you know what I mean, and not getting involved in the misconstrued information. Like, again, it's not fix everything, fix all, right?
Right.
I read.
It's not for everybody.
Right, it's not for everybody. I mean, we have a couple of good friends, and I'll bring up right now, Rob Smith, right? He's going through a lot. He's got some operations, and right now, ingesting cannabis is making him sick. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and a lot of people, don't agree with, some of these issues that we have with, like, the cannabis deficiency issues where these syndromes that people are actually getting sick by smoking cannabis. Now, whether that's a result of the cannabis or the result of whatever was used to grow the cannabis or the strain or whatever, there's that issue out there. You know what I mean? Which also needs to be addressed because, again, it's not for everybody. But the scariest thing is know your strains, right? Because if you have anxiety, you don't want to be smoking some crazy sativa, some 4-way cheese that makes you shake and makes your heart race.
I have a strain the cough I can't even smoke because it makes me race. I'm a high-strung person as it is, and it makes me anxious. I want to leave places, like I don't want to go in public. So it's knowing that I stay away from it. Right. I only use it at certain times. Great for back pain. But that's when I'm home. I'm not going to go out in public, and so it's knowing that as well.
But as a patient, you need to educate yourself there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Keep log books, log everything. Especially if you're a medical patient. There's so many strains in these places. Log it, write it down, write down how it made you feel.
And exactly how it worked for you. What time of day is the biggest thing I talk to everybody is like that same strain isn't going to be your one-day strain, right? Because if it's one that you're trying to get to sleep with, you're not going to wake up to it. You're not going to do it at lunchtime at work, so you stay focused because you're going to be drooling on yourself.
And stay hydrated because that's a big one.
Exactly.
A lot of people get dehydrated. So.
All right, guys. So we have a few minutes left of our due time slot. We're only going to 12 o'clock today, guys. I can't thank everybody enough again for tuning into In the Weeds. We are on WGDR Plainfield, WGH Hardwick. This is 91.1 FM, 91.7. Great show, guys. I can't thank you enough. Mark, Laura, tell everybody where they can find you guys and all the crazy things you're doing because you have a couple different kind of companies going on. You have events going on.
Yeah,
take a few minutes.
Trying a few different things. I have a skincare company. I'm sorry. You can find me on Instagram, Hole in the Wall Skincare, or I have a group page on Facebook. You can check out my website, Hole in the Wall Edibles and Skincare, where you can find my products. I have a price list. There's a few different stores in Massachusetts that you can find my products at. The Maiden's Voyage in Whately, Mass., and the Summit Lounge in Worcester. And this week I have 3 more stores that I need to visit. So I'm really excited to help people and educate people and let them know that there is another option to healthcare. And
everybody can just reach out to you guys online or through social media as well.
Yeah, holeinthewall@gmail.com. Come check us out.
Yeah, and I'm Mark Huard from Hole in the Wall Cultivation. You can find me on Instagram at Hole in the Wall Cultivation. You can also find me on my Facebook at Mark Huard Jr. I put a lot of my educational stuff on there. I host a rap battle event the last Friday of every month at the Summit. I'm big on education, big on music. Big shout out to Sky sitting next to me. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
If you can listen to music on your phone, you can listen to it on the radio, but having this gentleman sitting next to me and the energy that comes off of this guitar, this ukulele, in himself is amazing. If you haven't checked out his show, you guys need to go check this guy out in person because he's pretty incredible. So thank you for sharing your talents with us.
I appreciate you guys receiving it. I am Sky Allen, SKYALAN on social media. It's Sky Allen Music on Instagram and Facebook. Do add me. Follow me on there. I release live videos and community building just ideas and free thought and free streams. And I am a community building event planner. So if there's any gatherings that you have in your mind that you'd like to have a little help with throwing, I love to be part of any community efforts that are going on in the area. I am throwing a gathering on July 4th in Warren, New Hampshire. Do check that out online. It's called Jamley Gathering. I'm going to be featuring myself and Hannah's Field, as well as Beef Stew, if you know who those guys are. Great Grateful Dead cover band. Really appreciate you guys having me here. Download my tracks on Bandcamp. Just released a bunch of new ones. Thank you so much. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Aloha.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for our show today. I just want to give a huge thanks to our co-host, Brendan Barberio, out in Arizona, our OLCC certified cannabis expert. We have Timothy Fair from Vermont Cannabis Solutions, and we also have Jesselyn Dolan of the Vermont Nurse Cannabis Association. We're going to end the show, guys, with the last song from Sky Allen. We're going to do Remember. We'll be back next week, guys. We have a great show lineup for you again in our new time slot, 10:30 to 12. Check us out online at In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio's group page, and our photo booth. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Changes our path and makes the waves move. Infinite reflection never ceasing to amaze you. To amaze you. Each heart connected to a star. Next generation illumination. Remembering who we are. Remembering who we are. Remembering who we are. We've come so far. We remember every center. Breathing one breath from us we surrender. When we are together, we can co-create, build a brighter future, manifest a better fate. We make love and we lead with the light, sharing our heart songs we find inside. We know we can count on each other, one tribe. We unify to heal our mother, to heal our mother, to heal our mother, to heal our mother, to heal our mother. Now we're not believing the lies no more. We're waking up and we're settling the score. Taking back the odds that have been stacked against us. We're relentless, expect us. Then hold on to the hope. When the tribe vibes and the hive mind together, we're never alone. Embrace the unknown, surrender to the flow. Embrace the unknown and surrender to the flow. Surrender to the flow, embrace the unknown. Surrender to the flow, embrace the unknown. Surrender to the flow, surrender to the flow. Remember, every center, breathing one breath from us we surrender. When we are together we can co-create, build a brighter future, manifest a better fate. We make love and we lead with the light, sharing our heart songs we find inside. We know we can count on each other, one tribe. We unify to heal our mother, to heal our mother, to heal our mother, to heal our mother. I said the light centers me.